Human soldier. Do you remember me? Evan freezes. His heart pounds. He knows the voice but cannot place it. Before he can answer, a damaged alien fighter appears on his radar, falling apart, losing power. It belongs to the Velari Empire, the same alien race humanity almost died fighting. His crew panics. His commander orders him not to approach. But the voice again whispers through the comms, weaker this time. Long ago, you saved my life. I am returning the debt. This hooks Evan completely. 10 years ago, during a brutal battle on the burning moon of Eris 3, Evan had saved a wounded alien warrior. He never knew her name. He never expected to hear from her again. Against orders, Evan launches a rescue pod. The damaged alien ship explodes seconds after he reaches it, and he drags the injured alien warrior aboard his pod. When her helmet falls away, he sees her face. Tall, silver-skinned, glowing eyes, sharp features, the same woman from the battlefield. She looks at him and speaks with difficulty. My name is Saria, and I have come with a warning. Before Evan can ask anything, hostile ships jump out of warp. Unknown symbols. Not Velari. Not human. Something far worse. Saria forces herself up and grabs Evan's arm. Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Evan Hale stood on the silent deck of the human patrol ship, watching the dead war zone drift past him in the dark stretch of space. A place he once swore he would never return to, yet here he was again, feeling the cold breath of old memories on his back. The war had ended 10 years ago, and the galaxy had begun to heal, but his mind still carried every scream, every fire, every shadow that once chased him across the burning moons. He was only 20 then, young, scared, and desperate to live, but he had done something that no one believed. He would save the life of an alien warrior, a Velari woman with silver skin and bright glowing eyes. He never knew her name, he never spoke to her after that battle. He simply carried her out of the fire, handed her to her own soldiers, and walked away thinking he would never see her again. The universe, it seemed, had a cruel taste for surprises, and it revealed one when the patrol ship suddenly caught a faint signal. At first, the bridge crew thought it was just broken echoes from the dead battlefield, but the signal grew stronger, and a voice came through the static, a soft voice, cold, steady, familiar in a way that twisted the air around Evan like invisible hands. The voice said, Human soldier, do you remember me? For a moment, Evan forgot to breathe, his heart clamped inside his chest. The words felt like fingers pulling him back to that single moment on Eris 3 when he carried that wounded alien through waves of burning metal. He could not speak, not yet. The crew stared at him, asking if he knew the voice, but he only shook his head without answering. The radar then blinked and showed a small ship drifting closer. Its engines were dying, its hull was broken, and pieces of its armor floated like dark dust around it. The identification tag flashed bright. It was Velari, the same race humans almost died fighting. Evan felt a storm rise inside him. His commander ordered the crew to hold position and not approach, but the voice returned, weaker this time, almost broken. Long ago you saved my life, I am returning the debt. Evan heard that, and something inside him moved, something old and heavy he had not felt in years. The memory of her face, the glow in her eyes, the fear she carried that day on Eris 3, all of it rushed back. He acted before logic could stop him, rushing to the hangar, launching a rescue pod without permission. Warning alarms rang around him, but he did not stop. The damaged alien ship exploded in a flash just seconds after he reached it, and he managed to pull one figure from the wreckage. The pressure inside the rescue pod rose, the lights flickered, and his breath came fast as he lowered the helmet of the injured alien warrior. He saw her face, her silver skin bruised, her glowing eyes dimmed yet unmistakable. It was the same alien woman he saved 10 years ago. She opened her eyes slowly, looking at him like she was seeing a memory come to life, and whispered, My name is Saria, and I have come with a warning. Evan wanted to ask what she meant, but the entire pod shook violently as hostile ships jumped out of warp, black metal shapes with no known insignia. Not Velari, not human, something else, something dangerous. They fired immediately, forcing Evan to dodge through chunks of old debris. Their lasers lit the darkness, and Saria pulled herself up, gripping the seat for balance. They will kill us, she said. They want me dead, and they will destroy you to reach me. Evan flew the pod with every bit of skill he had, sliding between broken metal, drifting across the old battlefield, trying to escape the enemy ship. Saria bit back pain as she took control of one of the pod weapons, firing back. Even with her wounds tearing open, she fought like a warrior of legend. Each shot she fired pushed the enemy back, but they kept coming. Evan managed to reach the human patrol ship, but the enemy ships attacked the moment the hangar doors opened. Explosions rang across the hull, lights died, alarms screamed. The ship shook like a trapped beast. The crew fought to keep control as Evan and Saria jumped out of the pod and ran inside. Saria staggered, but her eyes were sharp. She whispered, "There is a traitor here, one who serves the enemy, one who wants me to die." Evan felt a chill travel through him. The idea of a spy on their ship, someone guiding the enemy, someone waiting for Saria to fall, filled him with fear and questions. The patrol ship lost power, drifting toward a gravity well near a dead star. The pull grew stronger. The engines could not break free. The crew shouted orders trying to stop the fall, but nothing worked. Saria pressed her hand against a wall, steadying herself, and looked at Evan. "We will die here if we do not act, and if we die the galaxy will burn again." Evan stared at her, feeling the weight of her words, feeling the truth in her voice, the threat of a new war, a war far worse than the last. Part 1 ends here as the ship falls deeper toward the dead star, enemy ships surrounding them, alarms ringing, and Saria standing beside Evan, saying, "We must survive, human soldier, or everything will be lost." The human patrol ship fell deeper toward the dead star as fire alarms screamed across every hallway and metal doors shook under the force of enemy blasts. But Evan Hale refused to give up. He grabbed Saria's arm, helping her stand as the floor tilted under their feet. She was weak from wounds, yet her eyes glowed with sharp purpose. She told him that the enemy wanted her because she carried knowledge that could destroy their plans, knowledge that proved the hidden faction had been pushing both humans and Velari toward another war to weaken them both and rule the galaxy. Evan felt anger rise inside him, anger at the idea of someone planning death for millions for power. As they ran across the ship, explosions lit the walls and sparks flew like stars falling. Saria warned him again that the traitor was somewhere near, and they had to be ready for anything. They reached the command deck and found Captain Rourke waiting, but his face held no fear, only a cold calm that made Evan stop. Rourke pointed his weapon at Saria, telling Evan to step aside. He revealed that he had been serving the enemy for years, believing their promises of a new future where humans could rise above all others. But Saria stepped forward, her voice steady even though her body trembled. She told Rourke that he was being used, that the enemy saw humans as nothing more than tools. Rourke fired, but Evan threw himself in front of Saria, taking the shot in his shoulder. Pain burned through him like fire, but he stayed standing. He fought Rourke with everything he had, even with blood running down his arm. Saria tried to help, using her limited strength to strike Rourke with a piece of broken metal. Together they overwhelmed the traitor, knocking him unconscious. As the ship groaned louder from the pull of the dead star, Saria stumbled, but pushed forward, saying the engines were too damaged, and they needed to restart the jump drive manually, but doing so would expose Evan to deadly heat radiation. Evan refused to let Saria sacrifice herself. When she tried to step toward the engine room, he moved in front of her, telling her he had survived worse, and he was not going to let her die. They argued even as time slipped away, but finally Saria agreed and helped him reach the engineering bay. The hallway shook beneath their feet. Enemy soldiers boarded the ship, firing wildly. The crew fought them with desperation. Saria stayed behind to block their advance, using the last of her warrior training to hold them off, while Evan entered the burning engine room. The heat inside felt like walking into the heart of a sun. Alarms screamed around him, steam burst from pipes, and sparks rained down. Yet he pushed through, reaching the control core. His vision blurred, sweat ran down his neck and burned cuts on his skin, but he forced himself to keep going. He pressed wires together, rerouted broken circuits, and slammed his hand on the activation switch, but the jump drive was slow, too slow, and the pull of the star grew stronger. In the hallway, Saria fought enemy warriors. Even as her wounds reopened, she moved with fierce grace, striking with hands and feet and bits of metal to protect Evan. Every second mattered. She heard the engine rising in pitch. Finally, Evan managed to stabilize the drive and hit the final control. The ship jerked violently, shaking so hard Saria fell to her knees. The light around them warped, bending space itself, and in one blazing flash the patrol ship jumped away from the star, appearing far from the dead zone. But the enemy ships followed instantly, firing again, trying to finish what they started. Evan collapsed against the control panel, breathing hard, but alive. Saria dragged herself to him, helping him stand. Even in her weakened state, Evan asked if she could still send the warning, and she nodded, though her voice was faint. They reached the communication array, barely functioning. Saria placed her hand on the Velari crystal node she carried. It lit up with bright silver light running through the entire system. She spoke in her native language, sending a message to both Velari and Human High Command, revealing every secret, every plan, every truth about the hidden enemy faction. Her voice trembled, but the message went through, reaching every fleet, every leadership, every channel. The enemy forces realized too late what she had done. Then, in a sudden roar of engines, the combined fleets of humanity and the Velari Empire arrived. Warships lined the stars like shining mountains, cannons glowing with power. They opened fire together, destroying the enemy fleet in a storm of bright energy. The sky lit up with explosions, but this time humans and Velari fought as allies for the first time in history. Evan watched the battle from the damaged deck, leaning against Saria, who kept him steady even though she could barely stand herself when the fight was over and the last enemy ship exploded into dust. Evan finally allowed himself to breathe. He had saved the galaxy again without meaning to, and the woman he saved 10 years ago had now saved millions. He slowly lost consciousness from pain and exhaustion, and the world faded into darkness. He woke later in a quiet medical bay, soft light glowing above him, and the steady hum of machines around him. He tried to move, but a gentle hand pressed his shoulder down. Saria sat beside his bed, wrapped in medical bandages. Her silver skin healed slowly, but she looked alive and calm. She stared at him with a small soft glow in her eyes and asked, "Do you remember me?" Human soldier. Evan smiled, tired but warm, telling her that he remembered her now and he would remember her for the rest of his life. Saria stood with quiet pride, saying, "Good, because our story is not finished, not yet." And as she walked away, Evan felt a strange new hope rise inside him, a hope he had not felt in years, a hope born from trust, respect, and something deeper waiting to grow between a human soldier and the alien warrior whose life he once saved and who now had saved his in return. And their new future, whatever it held, was only just beginning.